This stuff touched and connected to so many people. Like they're almost trophies, they're moments sealed in time. Hi, I'm John Kernicky, and this is Consignor Confidential. I was born about 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia, southern suburb. My dad manages money. Early life was great. I went to a nice school. I had friends that were the jocks and the sports guys. I was on multiple sports teams. I was a good athlete. But I also was kind of like a nerd. I had a lot of friends. I was in a band. I was in a punk band for a while when I was a teenager. But I kind of used to say I could sit at every lunch table. You know, I mean, I was friends with the football team. I was friends with the lacrosse team. I was friends with the swim team. I was friends with the robotics team. We would talk all nerd stuff. You know, I was friends with the kids that were in the art department and stuff. I would kind of jump around. We're a big swim family. You know, like my dad's coached swimming. He swam his whole life. My mom swam her whole life. Each summer we kind of would go and we were part of a swim team since I was about 5, 6 years old. They had an arcade attached, kind of like right next to the pool. That's where I got introduced to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and Tekken and Area 51. Being in the arcade was kind of the original social media a little bit, where you just wanted to sit back and watch the guys who could just, on one quarter, just play for hours. I can remember every Saturday just really getting into that Pokemon League, and that's when just Pokemon started and it just exploded all over America. I used to go to the Grand Rameau every Saturday with my best friend Dalt. We used to play like the Pokemon League. Like we would go with our deck. We had an electric and fire deck and the whole shebang. That's where a lot of my early childhood just lived in that mall. The arcade probably in the summertime, and then during school year every weekend was Pokemon Card League, you know? I was raised by an investor. Well, I mean, he's a value investor, and that's what my dad is really good at. And so I could identify that there was great value in all these items. Sometimes it's cool to hold physical stuff, you know, and I love museums and I love art, and it kind of dawned on me then, why not do this? Because this is just as good an investment as some of the other stuff. I wasn't in it for the money. I was in it to really just make a cool room. A lot of the items that I have are super rare, were really hard to find. And of all the things that, like, you know, if there was a method to the madness here, or if there was a special formula, it was knowing which items to buy. If you're gonna own something, you wanna own the best version of it. My formula was that it had to be from a franchise that had already stood the test of time, and it had to be something that was maybe limited or original or very early. And I started thinking, what is the beginning of some of these franchises? So for example, they've made 1 million Star Wars toys. The first 12 toys will always be sought after in the Star Wars universe. The same with the Turtles toys. I bought the first 4 Turtles and the Shredder from the original 1988's Playmates line. I wanted things like that, where like as iconic villains like the Joker. I love the Joker. I love the Riddler. I love, you know, obviously I love Batman. I love, you know, the Eternals and Marvel. I was a huge X-Men fan. Part of the collecting aspect is you don't want to get rid of it. That's why you're collecting it in the first place. You want to have a collection. But at the same time, you know, I have some items that are super rare that, you know, I wouldn't mind another huge fan feeling the way I felt when I first bought it. I do love the idea of an auction and having other collectors, you know, bid on this thing. And congratulations to the winner who takes it. The original flying Pikachu from the '97 Koro comic. That's the first ever flying Pikachu image we ever have. This one's going in the auction as well. This is the ANA Airlines. That's the big Japanese airline with the Pokemon on the side. They did promos back in the day. You're gonna have both sets. And I'm also putting this one in the auction. This is the first edition PSA 10 Red Cheeks Pikachu. This is one of the most famous Pokemon cards of all time. They're Batman 426, 427, 428, and 429. They're what people call the death in the family. Parts 2 and 4 are signed by Mike Mignola. He's also famous, you probably know him, he's the guy who created Hellboy. This is a 9.8 first print copy of The Killing Joke. Now, some people think this is the greatest Batman story of all time. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles obviously was released out in Mirage Studios in 1984. Number 4 is just a really cool cover. It's like a light green, a little bit like turtle green, and obviously being signed by both Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the 2 creators of Turtles. I mean, you can't, that's difficult to even get anyway. But right now, the biggest comic in America is what they call the Last Ronin. It's a really dark story about the 3 of the Turtles are dead, and if there's only one left, he's the Last Ronin. So it's a 1-of-1 from Halloween Con. It's signed and sketched by Kevin Eastman. One of the most rarest pieces of my whole collection is the Summer Edition Demonic Tutor. It's difficult to articulate how rare this card is, but hardcore Magic collectors know that the Summer Edition is the hardest set to collect. Sad to see this one go. I also put in the auction, I put 1 copy of every type of land from Magic the Gathering. Lands are the way that you power the cards. It's a major mechanic in the game of Magic, so having 1 version of all the different types of stuff, I threw that in there. I thought that was a good idea. As far as video games go, I'm going to be adding in my sealed copy of Grand Theft Auto 3 and my sealed copy of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Both Wata graded 9.6. I have Eternals #1 and Eternals #2. I also have some of the old cards from Marvel, like this is Eternity. He's one of the cosmic beings. I have him graded
8.5. So this is one of my favorite cards ever. This is Giovanni's Gyarados. You know, he's obviously the head of Team Rocket. He's the big boss man. He's the, you know, the antagonist of, at least the human antagonist of the whole original storyline of Pokemon per se.
Mew is an iconic, mythical Pokemon, one of the legendary guys, and just, you know, one of the more popular ones. So it's a first edition, it's a holographic, it's a PSA 10, I mean, you can't get much better than that.
So I got Misty's Gyarados in the auction right here, and this is Misty right here. So each one of these, there's 8 of these, there's each trainer from the show, from the game, whatever.
That's the first ever Pidgeot card ever, PSA 10 first edition holographic. The 1999 first edition base set holographic Machamp. He's one of the original base set holographics. And it's the first edition, PSA 10, perfect quality, really cool card, one of the old greats. Obviously I'm sad to see it go, but it's cool, I'm excited for someone else to get it. I'm happy that people are finding this stuff, especially during the pandemic when people were locked in and kind of, you know, were pretty bored, I'm sure, and or afraid and kind of didn't know what to do. That they found these things and there was a resurgence in the idea of you know, surrounding yourself with pop culture, surrounding yourself with nostalgia. Is it bittersweet a little bit? Yeah, obviously, because people were telling me I'm nuts for collecting graded stuff. I mean, listen, dude, there are some Pokemon cards, there's some Magic cards, there's some comics, there are some movies. There's some things that will never lose value, in my opinion, that will keep going up because they remind people of a time and place when they bought it, or they were a kid, or they read it on the corner, or their friend showed them, or their dad showed them, and it hits a certain spot for some people. So I'm just excited that it is mainstream now. I'm excited that people get into it. I think there's like 1,000 Pokemon now. I don't, you know, the original 150 are where, you know, I can name them all right now sitting here. Name 50 Pokemon right now? Okay. Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise. You got Mew, Mewtwo, Dragonite, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. You got Pinsir, you got Lickitung, you got Clefairy, Clefable, Jigglypuff, Wigglytuff, Ammonite, Pikachu, Raichu, Spearow, Fearow, Pidgey, Pidgeot, Pidgeotto. Let's keep going, there's so many more, oh my gosh.